Okay, so let's get right into it. We're about to explore one of the most influential stories ever told. But here's the thing. It's not about a god. It's not some myth from a faraway land. It's the story of a real human being who decided to understand his own mind. And in the process, he basically left a roadmap for the rest of us. This is the story of the man who woke up. It's really the first question we have to ask, isn't it? When you hear the word Buddha, all these images probably pop into your head. Big statues, temples, maybe some kind of distant, godlike figure. But to really get the power of this story, we gotta peel back all those layers and ask, who was the actual guy? And this slide cuts right to the chase. So often, people think the Buddha was a god, someone to be worshipped, or maybe a prophet who brought messages from on high. But the reality is so much more grounded, and honestly, way more inspiring. He was a human. He became a teacher, and his whole goal wasn't for us to pray to him, but to understand his insights for ourselves. This is it. This is his whole claim in 3 simple words. When people asked him, "What are you? Are you a god, a king?" He just said, "I am awake." So awake to what? Well, awake to how reality really works, awake to why we suffer, awake to the nature of our own minds. That simple statement is the bedrock for everything else. So let's start where his journey began. And it didn't start in some remote monastery. Nope, it started in a palace with a young prince who had literally everything you could imagine, but he knew almost nothing about the world outside his own perfect bubble. So this guy, Siddhartha Gautama, he was born a prince. And his dad, the king, was totally determined to protect him from any kind of pain or unhappiness. I mean, just try to imagine a life where you've never seen anyone sick, never seen anyone get old, never seen hardship of any kind, just constant pleasure all day, every day. That was Siddhartha's entire reality. But, reality, it has a way of crashing the party. One day, he convinces his charioteer to take him outside the palace walls, and bam! His whole perfect world just shatters. For the very first time in his life, he sees someone who's actually sick, trembling in pain. Then, on another trip, he sees an old man, all frail and bent over, just struggling to get by. The whole idea of aging, that your body eventually just breaks down, was a total shock to his system. He'd never even considered it. And finally, the most profound sight of all, a dead body. He sees a funeral procession, people grieving. This was his first encounter with mortality, the absolute, inescapable fact that life ends. So these 3 sights, they revealed a truth that he just couldn't unsee. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how powerful you are, nobody escapes sickness, old age, and death. And for him, this wasn't some scary thought. It sparked this deep, compassionate question. Is there a way out? Is there a solution to this cycle of suffering? And that question, it completely took over his life. He just couldn't go back to the palace and pretend like nothing had happened. He had to find an answer. So he did something radical. He left. He walked away from everything. His title, his money, his family. They call this the Great Renunciation. And for 6 long years, he basically becomes this wandering seeker, learning from the best teachers he can find and pushing himself to every possible limit because he was just so determined to solve this problem of human suffering. And man, he tried everything. He went to one extreme, starving himself until he was literally just skin and bones. He thought if he punished his body, he could free his mind. But then, after collapsing, he has this huge breakthrough. He realizes hurting the body isn't the answer. But he also knows that the mindless pleasure of his old palace life isn't the answer either. The real path, he realized, had to be somewhere in between, a middle way, a path of balance. And this realization, this leads us right to the climax of the entire story. He'd given up on the extremes, he finds a quiet place under a big tree, sits down, and gets ready for one final, all-out effort to find the truth. And right there, he makes this incredibly powerful vow to himself. This wasn't about praying or hoping some god would give him an answer. It was a solid commitment to look inward, as deep and as honestly as he could, until he finally understood the real root of suffering, right there, inside his own head. So as he sits there in deep meditation all night, the answer finally dawns on him. He realizes our suffering isn't really about the external stuff, the pain, the loss. It comes from our own minds. It comes from our habit of trying to cling to things that, by their very nature, can't be held onto. Think about it. We try to hold on to pleasure, to youth, to people, to ideas, and because everything changes, when they do, we suffer. It's our own grasping that causes the pain. And then, as the morning star appeared in the sky, his understanding was complete. In that moment of incredible insight, Siddhartha Gautama, the prince, was gone, and the Buddha, the one who is awake, was there. Not a god, just a human being who had finally woken up to reality. Now, his story could have ended right there. I mean, he found this incredible peace for himself. But out of this immense compassion, he decided to spend the next 45 years of his life walking all over India, not to get followers or start a religion, but just to share the path that he had discovered. And this was his invitation. He never ever said, just believe what I say. His whole approach was, come and see for yourself. He was basically presenting his discovery like a science of the mind, a set of ideas that you're supposed to test out in your own direct experience. He laid it all out in this really clear, logical way. It's almost like a doctor's diagnosis, right? Step 1, here's the symptom. Life has suffering. It's just part of the deal. Step 2, here's the cause. It's our own clinging and craving. Step 3, the good news. There's a cure. Suffering can actually end. And finally, step 4, here's the prescription. A practical path you can follow to train your own mind. So why are we talking about a story that's thousands of years old? Well, because the fundamental problem he was looking at, the way our own minds work, that hasn't changed one bit. His insights are like this timeless toolkit for dealing with our crazy modern lives. I mean, just look at this list for a second. Sound familiar? Anxiety, stress, distraction, constantly chasing the next thing we think will make us happy, feeling completely overwhelmed. Our world is so much faster and louder now, and the Buddha's teachings speak directly to these exact problems. And this is the practical side of it all. His teachings aren't just ideas, they're actual tools. Tools that teach you how to watch your thoughts instead of just being swept away by them. Tools for developing compassion. Tools that teach you the actual skill of letting go of what hurts you. It's all about learning to face life with a little more wisdom and a little less struggle. So, in the end, the story of the Buddha isn't just about something that happened a long time ago. It's really an invitation. He proved that an ordinary human being, through their own effort, can find incredible wisdom and freedom. And so his story leaves us with this question that's been echoing for centuries. What could you awaken to?